Politics. Professor, thank you so much for joining us. Now, talking the structure of PFF, consisting of a council of eminent persons led by retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye. He is incarcerated, and that's on the one hand. Then you have a technical arm led by the Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago. Can one consider that this is basically the heaven in terms of leadership structures for Uganda's situation, at least the opposition?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to give my views on the new party PFF that was recently launched. Listening to Ibrahim Semuju talk about the party and the structure, you could hear what he said. This is to avoid conflict within the party. Now, structures are meant to facilitate the progress of the party. And the focus on conflict is a reminder of the fact that PFF and ANT that recently came in alliance with them, where all the members, including me, we were in FDC. And the challenge that we faced in FDC was those who came from reform agenda thinking that they owned FDC. And therefore, instead of tapping the potentials and the capacities that some of us had, we ended up fighting each other. Secondly, the challenge that PFF will have is what Semuj again mentioned, the fact that they are sure that this will water down the effort of President Museveni to eliminate the opposition. It becomes a big problem because parties are formed not to resist other parties. Parties are formed to lead the country. And that is the other element which Semuju Nganda talked about, which I appreciated. We also, when we formed FDC, I was chair of the platform committee. We created the party platform, the agenda of the party, at a very technical level. My members included David Pulukol, late Yona Kanyomozi, Sir Richard Kaijuka, Suleiman Kigundu. But I was chair, and we did a very technical work. The challenge that PFF has, and all the parties have actually, is the challenge of politics of Uganda. Just before the PFF story came, there was a story about the police officer going to Sembabule and talking. That is NRM, the ruling party, that said they brought peace. But in NRM now, the conflict is too much. So the bigger picture that we must deal with is the challenge of peaceful politics, the challenge of working together as Ugandans. And for that matter, the federal element in the PFF is something that, given the situation we are facing in this country, we may have to push towards that.
I'd like to ask, and you sort of glossed over it there. There was a time when Ugandans could not think about anything without raising the question of the white man. Then there was a time when we could not think about anything as Ugandans without mentioning Milton Obote. Now we cannot think anything without mentioning Yoweri Museveni. Is there going to be a time when we can think straight without that name as part of the conversation?
It is not possible. Yoweri Museveni is now part of our history. But right now, the only name we must consistently mention without fear of favor is Yoweri Museveni, because he's the president of Uganda, and like the Americans say, the buck stops with him. So whatever is happening, whether in NRM, the party, the chaos in it, if you cannot manage your own party and there's so much chaos, how can you claim that you have brought peace and stability to the country? How can't you see the risk that the country faces? And therefore, President Yoweri Museveni's name is part and parcel of the Ugandan political history, even when he is still writing his own history. The element of any history is the conclusion. If you conclude badly, no matter how well you have served for 40 years or more, if you conclude badly, it is the conclusion that you will take to your grave, not the good things.
And finally, if you may, do you think it would be a good idea for PFF to have a presidential candidate, or it is too late for them to think that?
As who? To think of who as a presidential candidate?
And I was asking, do you think they should be thinking a presidential candidate now, or should they be thinking 2031?
You mean the PFF?
Yes, PFF. PFF, yes.
I believe that the coming election, the parties in opposition, they are not opposition parties, they are parties in opposition. Because they are not formed to be opposition. They are formed as parties, but currently they are not in government, so they are the parties in opposition. For their own security, because the coming election is not going to be very peaceful. We have seen it already. We saw what happened in the by-election. We see what is happening in the NRM primaries. And when the voices of those parties in opposition come out strong, I believe that the police, the security system, and the military under General Muhoozi, they will interfere with the elections. And that interference is going to cause problems. So I would advise the parties in opposition to sit down and talk to one another and have a genuine coalition for the purpose of conveying the message to Uganda that the country is not well. The country needs to be helped to get rid of the pain that it is feeling now, the sickness of hatred that is pervading everybody, the cry of poverty that is everywhere, the failure of infrastructure everywhere, including the Prime Minister's home place where people said we will not vote unless you do the roads. And when you focus on that message and you avoid fighting NRM, I believe that the country will wake up to the fact that there must be a purpose in electing somebody. And then they can stand and question, we elected you 5 years ago, what did you do? If you have done nothing, why do you want to go back to lead us again? And that would be the kind of politics that me, Latigo, would be part of. The reason why you see me completely out of party politics now is because the political activities, even within parties, is not directed at the primary interest of the country and the people of Uganda.